Hi there.
Hi.
My name is Marianne Barnett, and I'm the transition coordinator for the Wisconsin Educational Services Program for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing outreach for the state of Wisconsin. Today, we're going to have an interview with a young professional. We've I'll let her introduce herself, but we were connected through several colleagues, and I will let Ashlee Finch introduce herself, talk about a little bit about her background and what it is she does.
Hi. I'm Ashlee Finch. I'm an educational interpreter. So I work in K through 12, and I'm from like the Rockford, Illinois area, but I have lived in like 7 different states. So I've been around like a lot of different places, but I consider Wisconsin to be home.
Well, thanks for agreeing to do this interview with us, Ashlee. We're hoping to convince some youth to want to be educational interpreters like yourself. Can you tell me what was your inspiration to become an educational interpreter?
Sure, absolutely. I feel like for me, my journey to becoming an interpreter started when I was pretty young. I have some relatives who are involved in the deaf community. One of them is an interpreter, and her husband is deaf. So growing up, I would watch both of them communicate in sign language, and it really sparked an interest in me to want to learn more. And later on in high school, I had the opportunity to take some more like signed English classes, but there is a hard of hearing woman who taught sign language. So I took her classes for 3 years in high school. And she was just so kind and encouraging to me as I learned some basic vocabulary and started to pick up the language. But it wasn't really until later on, after I graduated high school and started going to a community college, that I decided I wanted to pursue interpreting as a career. I I went to Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. for some summer classes. I took American Sign Language 1 and 2, and it was a really life-changing experience for me. My eyes were just opened up to this whole other world that I didn't even know existed before I went to Gallaudet. And I met so many different people involved in the deaf community, and my eyes were open to deaf culture and realizing that American Sign Language is more than just a beautiful language. There's a whole culture and community like involved with that. So after that, I decided that I did want to become an interpreter, and I transferred from Rock Valley College to UW Milwaukee and went through their interpreter training program. And I graduated in 2016 and have been interpreting in education ever since.
So, Ashlee, altogether, then, how many years of college did it require you taking in order to get your educational interpreter's license?
So for me, it actually ended up taking 5 years because I went to a community college in Rockford for 2 years, and then I transferred to UW Milwaukee for my last 3 years. So a total of 5 years to get my bachelor's.
And educational interpreters do require a bachelor's degree in the state of Wisconsin, correct?
I believe so. There's a lot of things that have been changing with licensure. Um, I don't actually, I think for educational interpreters, you're not required to have a bachelor's degree, but you are required to have your DPI license.
And how many hours a day would you say you spend with deaf and hard of hearing students?
All day, full time. But I mean, I would say that, you know, I interpret all day long, but when I do have breaks and like prep time, I am spending that time reviewing like class materials, going over textbooks and PowerPoints and just like class things that help me prep for the next day for interpreting, and also like other personal professional development with like workshops and videos and researching terminology and stuff like that.
What is the most fun part of your job?
Ah, that's such a hard question. I really love my job. I think I really love learning so much. I feel like every day I'm just learning something new, like something new about the world and about other people and about myself. I consider myself to be a lifelong learner, so I love just learning in general. But I do really love seeing people connect and being a part of seeing those connections happen, like with my deaf and hard of hearing students connecting with their teachers and with their peers and just other staff members at the school.
Do you have a best memory or a favorite story that you can share with us?
Sure. One year I was working in an elementary school, and I had one student during a Deaf Awareness Week that the teacher allowed the student to go in front of class and teach class some like basic signs with like, hi, how are you? My name is like that kind of thing. And for days afterwards, students would come up to my student and like practice signing with them. And we had posters that we hung up in the walls in the hallways too. So students would be like waiting in line for the bathroom, and I would see them like practicing sign while they were waiting in line. And it was just so awesome that week and the weeks following to see other students connecting with my student and sharing that language.
I love that story. So, what would you suggest for some young person who's watching this video? What would you say to convince them or to inspire them to want to be an educational interpreter?
Hmm. I would say for me, I just love being a part of this vibrant community of people. And I just love the diversity that comes in the work that I do with learning new things every day and interacting with all different kinds of people and different settings. Um, yeah, I would say I just love being a part of this community. And that's the best part, being a part of the community and experiencing that culture and such an incredible, vibrant language.
Thank you. Do you have any other words of wisdom or words of encouragement or anything else you'd like to add here?
Sure. If I could give encouragement to someone, I would say find what inspires you, because like I really love the work that I do. And some days interpreting is really hard, and I finish the day and I just feel really exhausted. And uh, I just sometimes feel like, oh, is this really what I want to do? And then I look back at like different experiences that I've had in the past. Like I think about like workshops that I've been to, and I see like my colleagues who are there and are just so passionate about the work that they do and are just so excited to continue to learn and grow in their field. And then I watch like certified deaf interpreters. I watch the work that they do and how they so like masterfully use language and create just this beautiful like picture that I might not have been able to create with the language that I've been using. I'm just really inspired by watching deaf interpreters work too. And just thinking about like seasoned interpreters who've been working for many years, when I talk to them and I ask them like, what do you love about your job? And they just have all these different reasons, and they can still talk about how passionate they are about the work that they do. I find that to be so inspiring. But like ultimately, like working with my students every day, and when I see those small moments of them like experiencing growth or like working on, developing self-advocacy skills, and seeing that growth from like the beginning of the year to the end of the year is what truly like keeps me going every day. And I think about how like when I'm going to all these different workshops and doing these different things for like my own personal growth, how that deliberate practice is directly impacting the work that I do every day with my students and them having equal access to communication. And that's really my goal. So I would just say find what inspires you and go for it. Because some days you might feel down, but then you think back about those times that you felt passionate about the work that you're doing, and it helps you keep going.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your words of encouragement. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey. Thanks to, was it your aunt? Did you
My
say
cousin.
the cousin
Mhm,
who planted those initial seeds and brought sign language into your eyeballs and into your world for you from the
mhm.
from the young age? Thank you for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.